Ambassadeur reel. It's an Abu-Garcia Ambassadeur. It is the 7000C series. I had done some cleaning to it earlier, and my little release for casting had gotten a little bit loose. Yeah, there's some wiggle to it. And I thought it was fine, but I took it fishing, and when I would be casting, because it was loose, something in here kept it from staying open, and when the line would go out, it would automatically re-engage, which was causing some issues. So I'm going to open this back up and show you a little bit on how to disassemble this reel. I've done this a couple times before now, and we're just kind of go over that a little bit, give you an idea for what it looks like and a little bit how to do it. It was just recently cleaned, so I'm not going to do any cleaning, but I can kind of show you a little bit about that. So first we start off by taking off these screws, and these just need to be knocked loose with a little screwdriver. Once you knock these loose, you can do them with your fingers. Pretty easy. They got nice grip on them. Just loosen them up a little bit. And they don't come out. Some of the different Ambassador reels, these little screws completely pop out. But the way these are designed is they stay in here. They're just loosened up. Alright, so that'll pull off the main plate here. From there, your spool comes out. And I have braided line on here, which makes it a little bit difficult to deal with because it gets loose and can get into things. But I'll go ahead and take off the spool and just show you. So here you have, on this side is your magnetic cast control, as well as your bait clicker. You can see those gears in here. You always want to make sure those are greased up nice where those gears are, which this one is. And if you're ever cleaning it, you can come through here and clean this out. I just had the reel in some salt water, which is why I cleaned it last time. But that's nice and clean in there. So that's that side. Here's your spool. You can always add a little bit of grease here to those gears as well, but it looks pretty good. So we're just going to set this aside. Alright, and here is my problem area. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by just disassembling this reel assembly here, so that we can get into the inner workings here and fix this. Now I will say this fix is not for the faint of heart. It took me about an hour and a half last time just to put this little piece back together, which is why I think I ended up knocking it loose. So I'm going to try this again and we will see how it works. Alright, so first you're simply going to start off by unscrewing this one here, this little screw on the outside of the reel. So we're going to get that. And this is just kind of like a security locking mechanism to keep this nut here from coming undone. So we got that loose. And these are small screws we'll be working with, so you want to make sure that you don't lose them. Keep track of them. Put them in a spot where they're not going to roll onto the ground. I'm just going to set that back there for right now. And then we'll pull up this little plate. Now, lots of times too, what I like to do is after I've been in the salt water with my reel, I like to take it, and as I disassemble some of these metal pieces, I'll soak it in some soapy water. Use some nice Dawn dish soap that really cleans out some of that salt and grit, and then wipe them down. Now I've already done that with all these little pieces, so I'm just going to set them here on the table. But it doesn't hurt to have a little Tupperware bin with some soap water in there as well. So I'm just going to loosen this up a little bit here. It might be enough to get with my fingers. There we go. And you don't want to be too aggressive with a lot of these parts. You know, if you were to strip them out, it'd be a pain to deal with, replace them, whatnot. So now we got that off. If you look here, there's a little, I think it's called an E clip or a C clip. This little tiny piece of metal right here. I'll get up and close so you can see that. And it's just another security measure to keep things from falling apart. Abu-Garcia does a great job of constructing this reel, but we're going to try to pop this little piece out with my fingers, which I've done it before. Yeah, this definitely takes some patience, some precision. but there we go. Got it popped out. Once again, real small pieces we're working with here. As you can see, that little clip just went around the end of the screw. So once again, we're going to set this over here so it's nice and out of the way. Slide off our reel. There we go. Then we have our drag system here. We're just going to pull off this little plate. And it's good too to remember as you're taking it apart what goes where. Just keep notes, that way you can assemble it easily when you put it back together. Just gonna unscrew this. No, there you go. Set that over there. And so for the most part, that's the major pieces we need to disassemble. So I'm not going to do too much more here because once again, this can get really intricate and I don't want to overcomplicate what I want to do today. I highly recommend, if you're going to be cleaning out the inside of this, take your time. When I first did it, I was kind of expecting a short, 15-minute cleaning of my reel. I had never really done an in-depth cleaning of this reel before, so I was a little bit surprised when it took as long as it did. And I'll show you here in a second why it ended up taking so long. So now, once again, I'm taking apart these small screws right here on either side. They're just gonna come out with this small screwdriver. It helps to have the right tools as well. You get in here with too big of a flathead screwdriver or improper tools, you start stripping out little screws and nuts, and you don't want to do that. With such small, delicate pieces, it's important that you handle it carefully. Alright, so that came off rather easily, and that's not exactly how it's supposed to come off. So what happened was this piece here got knocked too loose just from me working on it last time. I didn't realize it, like I said, until I took it fishing. So we're going to see if we can't fix this. I think what it's going to boil down to is just tightening down this little hex. Now this, yeah, the wrench that came with my kit might be a little too big. So let's see here. I guess we just need to tighten this down so it won't be so loose. You see there's a little bit of slipping. It's pretty tight. Still feels like there's some more wiggle than there should be. So let's see, maybe when I put it together last time, maybe I didn't have it put back in this little pin here. So we'll try to put it back. But you see we have this, the spring is what gave me so much of a headache last time. And it has this little, I'll go ahead and pull it out. It has this little L shape here, and it goes in this little notch right here. And it took me forever to, because when I pulled my reel apart the first time, the spring kind of popped out. And I had my manual. My manual didn't show me exactly how that went in there. So it took me a while to figure that out, but I finally figured that out. So I'm hoping this video will save some of you guys some of the stress of figuring out the way this all goes together if you're planning on disassembling your reel. So I'll go ahead and zoom in here. You can see these gears. There's a good bit of grease in there, which is a good thing. Not too much, but decent amount of grease. So let me show you how this piece goes in. We'll pull this out. Now, one thing to remember, these pieces are delicate. While this main piece is nice, strong metal, there are some tiny pieces like this right here that slip off. Now, this one is kind of a pain to deal with, but as you saw, it pulled off just like that. This is what latches it in to keep, when it locks, to keep it from going backwards. Alright, so this goes like so. We're gonna drop it back down on the shaft and see if we can't get it just to drop nicely in place. I found having this piece in before you put it back is the easiest way to do it, so that you know it's secure on there, and it just kind of sits on there. Then we'll spin it. You can adjust this little piece here, and we'll drop it right back down in place. Alright, as you can see, it spins, and then you try to go the other direction. Boom, the little piece right there will catch it. So you know we're working good. We can spin it real good, make sure we got some good movement, nice and smooth in there. Alright, wonderful. Still catches good, good. That's what we want. Alright, now we got that out of the way. let's get back to what we're here for, getting this tiny little spring back in place. All right, so as you can see here, I'll go back, I'll show you again. So this silver pole goes in the center of our release, and then this gold rod is what goes in that side hole, and then the spring's the difficult one. This is the one we got to get in that tiny little hole. We got to get them all lined up just right. Alrighty, well, as you can see, I was able to get it put back together finally. Got all those little pieces on there. We got our trigger nice and sturdy. There's no more wiggle on there. I got that spring loaded back in there. It took me about an hour, so I cut a lot of that video and just fast forward. It was just a lot of tedious messing with those tiny little parts, a lot of patience. But as you can see, it can be done. I think the first time I did it, I think I did it incorrectly, which is, you know, why I obviously had to go back and fix that. So just goes to show a little bit of hard work and some patience, and you can get it. So don't be too discouraged by the fact that it's a little bit difficult. But if this is something you're trying to do with your reel and you don't want to send it in to be fixed, you can do it. So we'll go ahead and finish putting it back together. I did go ahead and screw these two pieces in just because I did not want it to pop back out with as long as it was to get back together. So I put these two little screws in, as you can see. Got those back on there, so you get a good view of that. Alright, so now we'll just go back to putting everything back together again. And we had some little washers that fell out of our reel mechanism, so I'm just going to refer back to the manual because it does show a little bit here. You can see the amounts of washers and how they fit in there and everything along that reel assembly here. So if you do have the manual, it's helpful in some cases when you have all these little parts. Sometimes, as we saw earlier, it's not quite as helpful as you'd want it to be, but thankfully this kind of shows me how these washers go back in together and pair them up, slide them on. The next is going to be our drag. Now when you put this on, be careful. As you can see here, we have the slotted, I guess is what you call it, slotted threads, to where it's not threaded all the way around. It has that shape to it. So when you put on your little drag adjuster, you want to make sure it spins on evenly. That time I got it the first try. I have done this a couple times where it goes on crooked at first, and you don't want to force it. If you feel yourself forcing this back on, you know you don't have it matched up to the threads properly, and you don't want to cross thread this here because that could really cause some problems. Once again, you damage that and you're in a world of trouble. So awesome, we got that installed. Next we have this little plate here that we had on. So plate, now see how it has that shape? That's what's going to fit over across the top of that. Alright, then we're going to slide our reel. Now there is another little washer that's on here. It kind of stuck to that plate there, which is fine. But sometimes that washer will pop off, and then make sure you just keep track of that as well. So we'll slide that down. Perfect. Alright, and then next we have our little E clip or C clip, whatever you want to call it. Don't forget to put this back on. This is a crucial safety feature. Just keeps your reel from falling apart, really, by accident. And there are several factors. See, it pops on just like that. Much easier putting it on than it was getting it off, so that's always a plus. And then we'll take our little nut here at the top, and once again make sure you're getting an even thread because that was a little bit crooked. You don't want to be forcing it. When you first slide it on, it should just nice and easy with your fingers. There we go. I had to adjust my camera because my battery did run out, so I had to plug it in. So I'm sorry if it's a little, from that side angle, not as easy to see. Once we get that stuck down with our fingers, you can take the little wrench and tighten it down. And once again, I did get this wrench in my kit over here, but any wrench will work really. It's nice having the open face wrench here. get that nice and snug, and then we'll see how we can get this. Once again, just another security feature. This isn't crucial to the functionality of the reel, but it does keep this nut here from coming loose. So that's, you know, that's a nice extra feature. Once again, just a good example of how Abu-Garcia really has built these Ambassador reels to last. They really did a thorough job putting these things together, and kudos to them. Alright, so that is disassembly and reassembly of your reel mechanism, and it's nice and smooth. There's plenty of grease in there. I'll show you from that angle. Awesome. So now we'll just reassemble the entire reel. Again, it's always good just double check, make sure you got plenty of grease in there. That looks pretty good, so we'll just go ahead and leave it. Like I said earlier, we never want to add too much grease. And I'll put my spool back on. It just slides back in. Alright. Perfect. And we'll go ahead and put this on. Just make sure we get it all lined up properly. Let's see here. Make sure we put it on the right way. Alright, and here's where you can go ahead and tighten down these ones here earlier with your fingers. They got those good grips on there. You can really get it nice and snug with your fingers. And once you get it nice and snug down, you definitely want to come back over it with your flathead screwdriver. Just give it a good snug fit, because they will start coming loose. That did happen to me last time. I didn't go back over it with my screwdriver. They started coming loose a little bit, and I think that attributed to my trigger right here, my release, where it kind of started knocking loose a little bit. So I'll get it nice and snug down, then we'll come back over with the flathead. See, I didn't even have much of a turn. It wasn't even quarter of a turn, but there's still some leeway there for it to be tightened, so make sure we get that. Alright. There it is. All back together again. There we go. It's more like it. Good as new. So I hope that was helpful. When I went to go do this initially, I had a bunch of issues and I couldn't quite find the right videos, so I figured, you know what, I gotta go ahead and fix it again. Why not film? Go ahead and see if this ought to help anybody, and if it does, feel free to leave that in the comments. You can go ahead and subscribe if you like. I'll be posting some fishing videos here in a little bit. Going fishing tomorrow, so hopefully I'll be able to get some good footage. It'll be my first time taking out the camera, so I'm hoping we'll catch some good fish tomorrow, get some good footage, and maybe we'll get another video. We'll see how this one turns out. I'm going to go over the footage and edit it and throw together a little video. So hope you liked it. If you do, hit the like button and maybe subscribe. See you later.